What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Coinist Podcast. I have a really special episode for you all today. Have on Trader SZ, and this is one I've wanted to do for a long time. I don't know why I waited this long, but I finally had the idea. Every single Monday, I'm going to have on one trader that I respect or investor that I want to learn from or whatever it might be that can provide value to you, and we'll talk about where we think the market is going that week. It'll be a fun way to kind of bounce some ideas off, play a little game, whether I'm right, whether the guest is right, and I want you guys to get involved as well. So stick around for the end of this episode. We talk about where we think Bitcoin's going, ETH, XRP, Tether, all those things. We also cover Trader SZ's process. He's someone that has a serious knack for where the market is going and playing ranges. And it's a concept that is talked about a ton on Twitter, and I think he's a big reason why. So we talk about his process, little tips there, how you can use the yearly open, the daily open, all those different things in your own trading, and also where we think the market is going. Like I said, get involved, hit subscribe. I don't want you to miss these episodes coming out every Monday, talking to a trader or investor that you want to hear from. Well, I also have a ton of other episodes coming out as well. So stick around, enjoy the episode, and smash the like button for me. Really do appreciate it. One quick note before we start the show. This show is sponsored by eToro. If you want to copy trade the top traders in that platform, they welcome U.S. traders. You can do it right down below. Also, Bybit Exchange sponsors the show. So if you are a leverage trader, you like to trade with margin, they have a killer mobile app. Check them out. Deposit bonus using my link right down below. All right, let's get into the show. Trader SZ, you're going to dig this one. I know I did. Enjoy the show, guys. SZ, I'm joined by the man himself. I have personally been looking forward to this episode for a long time. What's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, good man. How's it going, Luke?
Going all right. It's pretty early here. What's life like over there right now? I know in the U.S. we're talking about reopening again. People are talking about reopening the economy. People going back to work. A lot of people sitting and staring at charts, but they're going to have to go back to work. What is life in the UK like right now?
We're in lockdown as well. I mean, they're talking about reopening here, but I don't know how they're going to reopen when things aren't going down, really. But yeah, see how it goes. I mean, life of a trader doesn't really change. It's at home all day anyway.
Yeah, that's the weird part, right? Nothing's really changed for us. You're also you're fasting too. How's that? That
Yeah,
just started, right?
yeah. So a couple of days into Ramadan. So yeah, fasting's good. You feel good when you're fasting. I mean, the amount of weight I put on just sitting inside all day, at least the fasting is forcing me not to eat. So yeah, I feel good, man. I feel good.
That's good. Is it more of a mental? I mean, I know it's only the beginning of Ramadan. Is it more of a mental thing though, or is it a physical? Like, do you get hungry throughout the day and physically you're hungry, or is it just a mental? You have to block it out. What is that like? I've never fasted.
No, I mean, I think you get used to it. I mean, I do it every year. So I normally fast anyway, like, but I drink water. So Ramadan is usually dry fasting, so no water or drink for about 16 to 18 hours, whichever country you live in. But yeah, it's just the thirst part, and then smoking as well. I'm a smoker, so but the thing is, right after 3 4 days, you sort of don't crave it anymore. So yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, I do have a cigarette after I break my fast, feel dizzy. So yeah, it has many benefits.
Yeah, some health benefits there. I know I've been eating more. Maybe I should try fasting just for a week, just for a day or something. I want to kind of test my mental fortitude with it.
Definitely does have mental health as well. I mean, just mentally clearer. No food in your system. Just it works. Try it.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. I watched the documentary, but I haven't been sold on it just yet. It's funny you mentioned that about smoking as well. I was secretly kind of hoping for this. It's a weird thing to think about, but I've watched some of your trading videos, and you can hear you sparking up. It's almost a signature thing. It's almost like, I don't know if you've ever listened to Lil Wayne. I used to listen to a lot of Lil Wayne in high school before a hockey game or something. And at the beginning of every single song, you'd hear him spark up. And it's funny, when I said you were coming on the show today, there was already a couple of comments that said, how many times will we hear SC spark up? I was kind of waiting for it, man. It's like you're hopping on a track.
No smoking today, unfortunately.
All right, I won't bring it up anymore then. SC, before we break into thoughts on the market, right? Well, I wanted to have you on here. This is kind of exciting. It's doing a new segment. I want to get back to my roots, have a ton of traders on. You're someone that I respect in that I've followed you and seen your views and chatted with you now for almost 2 years, thoughts on the market. But before we get into that, one thing that I think is helpful, regardless of whether or not I agree with one of your trades, regardless of whoever's listening agrees with your opinion on the market, is understanding your process, right? And then someone can apply that, maybe a piece of your process. Someone can understand a new way to think about investing or trading in Bitcoin. So you came from FX, you have that background. What were you doing in FX? How did that all start? How long have you been in that game?
I've been in it for about over 8 years now. Well, around 8 years. Um, I was at university. I started to trade, and then ever since then, I've just been trading. Started with FX, just still trade FX. I mean, I do futures as well. I mean, trade ES, oil, gold futures, but mainly FX. I've just stuck to it ever since. Past year or two, moved to Bitcoin as well. Crypto, mainly just swing trade Bitcoin really. I
Yeah,
don't really
and
day trade it, but
yeah,
yeah.
and it's people look at Bitcoin, and I think especially for newer traders as they're getting in, people that Bitcoin's brought a ton of people that have never traded before, never thought about finance before into this space, and they kind of have to think about it like that. They usually compare it to equities or to stocks, right, and try to compare market cap, but really Bitcoin and cryptos in general trade much more like FX, right? Especially if you believe Bitcoin is a new form of money. You should be thinking about it as an exchange rate, not necessarily like a share price. What are some of the similarities? You still spend a ton of time in FX. I don't anymore. I came from FX, and I still don't spend any time in it. What are some of the similarities though when you're trading FX and you're looking at Bitcoin? What's kind of the same, and what's the biggest difference?
I approach it the same exact way. Price is price. I mean, I trade pure price action. I mean, I do have like fundamental outlooks as well, but that's just for the more bigger picture views. But yeah, I just trade pure price really. The only difference is probably Bitcoin is more volatile. So I use the exact same approach. Yes, there are a few nuances, but it's just like certain currency pairs have a few nuances. I just treat it like that. But yeah, exact same approach. Just more volatile. I find it is a bit cleaner compared to FX. I mean, FX has been dead until this year and all the coronavirus shit. FX volatility has been like all-time low. So it's forced me into like trading the ES more and other markets and Bitcoin more as well. So yeah, it's just mainly trend trade it, and for trends, Bitcoin's beautiful.
Yeah,
So yeah,
Bitcoin does somehow find a way to trend. That was one of the weirdest things when I crossed over. I used to trade dollar yen. I mean, really, if you look at any FX pair, what you're looking at, sure, there might be a trend over a year, 3 years, whatever it is. The pound might be losing to the dollar, whatever that might be. But generally, right, they're trading in kind of a range almost all the time. I came over to crypto and I started looking at people. They were throwing up, altcoin charts left and right. Basically, everyone was just drawing a triangle and it was breaking up. And I started saying, what the fuck do they know and I don't? I said, I've never seen this many ascending triangles that are just working, man. It's weird.
yeah, I think a lot of the gut people. I mean, a lot of the people you see on crypto Twitter anyway. I mean, most of them are from like no background at all. Yeah, you get a few that are know what they're on about, but they just stick to those classical chart patterns. And another thing is like crypto is still an immature market in the sense where it's still new. With with FX, you've got decades of ranges to work with, so it's still in price discovery and stuff in a lot of these. But yeah,
When you
just
say Bitcoin and crypto is a little bit cleaner, I want to hear your opinion on this because it's been proposed a lot, and I think people that trade Bitcoin sometimes they say, "Man, this market's tough. I'm going to go to FX." For a new trader or someone that's investing in this, isn't full time, hasn't been in it 8 years. What do you think is the easier market? It's kind of a tough question
I
because
think
neither
when
of them are
people
easy.
I think when people say that, that's just their limitation.
Yep.
I mean, it's my trade plan. This market could be really ideal for it, but somebody else's trade plan, that's not ideal for them. So it's what fits your trade plan. So I have times as well, like recently, I mean, I've been wanting to show Bitcoin bearish bias, but I've been forced to day trade it. And when I'm day trading it, I play both sides. Even though I've got a bearish bias, I've probably taken more longs than shorts, but I've got to adjust my plan. So I think when people, you know, they don't adjust to the market, they marry a bias, I find, and they can only see what tunnel vision. So just I have to short it only. But no, you can play both sides. If it doesn't follow your plan, then either step away or be willing to adapt and change bias. And if you're still bearish bias, for example, but short term, long then. So I think it's the maturity and the lack of experience. Because most experienced traders, they're able to switch their biases. It doesn't matter if I'm bearish. If the market's bullish, someone go bullish.
Yeah,
So
it's
that's what.
having that bias, being able to switch. It's tough. You also on Anthony Crudel's show, you had a really nice bit talking about what really you just explained. You could have a bearish bias, and actually you've taken more longs. And before we get into kind of your thoughts on the current market, where we're going, how can you have that bias? That trips a lot of people up. I even see it trip people up that follow you on Twitter. You'll post something, you say that's my that's my bias, and they say, why do you still think we're going to go to 3K? And you say nothing's triggered, right? That's just my bias.
Yeah.
Can you kind of explain the difference between your
So,
bias versus what you're actually
so
trading a trigger?
I mean, I have a bias with most markets. Like some people having a bias, they tend to marry it. I don't marry it. So if you feel like you're gonna get married to uh, one side only, then don't have your bias. If that makes it easy to say. With me, I love my bias bearish, and I'll have a clear plan. Unless it follows my plan, I'm not in that trade. So a lot of people say, "Oh, you're wrecked, this, that, the other." I go, "Yeah, but I haven't taken anything." It just shows the immaturity of people. So at that point, I just troll with them as well. I go along with it. But yeah, I mean, most of my plans. I mean, since the drop, I had a nice drop towards 4100 was my main objective.
Mm.
Ever since then, I haven't had a swing trade. I've had a couple of shorts, but either they've been, I've had to cut early, or a few been stopped out. But then I've been forced to either sit out or adapt. So I just chose to start playing the range. We're within both sides of the market. I still, I mean, I'm at a point where it's not make or break, which we'll get onto later on. But it's I have a clear plan for which at which point where I'm about to completely go swing bias long, which could trigger today or this week. We'll see how it goes. But it's at a make or break point for me. But yeah,
Nice.
I'm happy to play either side. You should never buy marry. Just go with what the market's telling you. Forget what you feel. What is he telling you? If he's telling you long, just go long. Simple as
Yeah.
that. But it's the marrying, it's that separating yourself, or not have emotion invested into a certain direction. That's where people fail to, disconnect from.
Sure, that's the breakdown, right? That's the breakdown where you say this is what I think is going to happen, right? This maybe versus what I want to happen, right? That
Yeah.
disconnect right there. I want to talk about that process a little bit. You've already said a word which I really want to hit on, and it's the your process, right? Trading a range, I think, is a big part of it, and the difference in
Mm.
market structure with FX and with crypto. One of the things that I noticed from FX was there are a lot of ranges, right? Currencies, the moves are much smaller. We're not seeing 50, 100% moves in a day. Obviously, that's a difference you'll notice very quick. But you also notice that Bitcoin and crypto just tends to trend more. What's happened though in the past 2 or 3 years that I've been in this, we are seeing more ranges for Bitcoin. We are seeing more ranges for alts, and that's a huge, huge, huge part of your game plan, part of your process, and part of actually triggering a trade. In its simplest terms, SC, because I think a lot of people have found ranges and trade ranges in Bitcoin because of you. How would you define a range?
For me, a range is you could have a range on a monthly chart, you could have a range on a weekly chart, you can have a range on an hourly chart. What it does is it defines an area to work with. That's it. Once I've got a defined area to work with, then I break that down. So for me, some people can just trade it by looking at the whole thing, but for me, it's easier to keep zooming in. Okay, so if I have a if even if I'm day trading, I always start on the higher time frame. Where are we within? And then I'll find a range on a weekly. I'll break it down to the daily, 4 hour, etc. And then once I know, okay, I'm working within this, that gives me where I'm wrong. So a range tells me where I'm wrong first and foremost before any trade idea. Then when I know I'm wrong, I know where my risk is. So before going forward, so at that point, entry doesn't matter to me. Entry secondary. So once I've defined, okay, this is where I shouldn't go. That's what the range gives me. Then I can go forward and then look for my trigger afterwards. Instead of going for trigger first, I look for invalidation first. Once I've got that, and that's where the range helps me.
So, and it's really just based off when you say that range, whether it's a yearly range, whether it's a weekly range, daily,
Mm.
4 hour, small time frame, that range is based on a high and a low, and then finding where that idea is invalidated. Correct?
It's just where price is capped within.
Yeah.
Yep. So we set a low, we set a high, and then if I see the initial high, it breaks, it rejects, but the initial high made, that's where it's capped to the upside, and vice versa for the downside. So now I know where I'm working within, and then as price unfolds more, I can find more defined areas to work with. And that's all it is really. Consolidations. People call it consolidations. People call it ranges. I mean, CT is big on range these days. everybody, everybody seems to be trading them now.
Everyone's looking for that range, man. It's like I said, it's something that I was using a lot in FX, just because you see
Mm,
that pattern a lot.
yeah.
One of the unique aspects, though, when I started following you, and maybe that's why I liked your stuff so much, was because it was something that I understood. It was kind of a way
Mm,
that I'd viewed the market. But you broke down some of these things way deeper than I'd kind of ever thought of them or used these words. Two words that you also see a lot of people use, and that I think could help people listening today. You talk about a midpoint and a deviation a lot within the range. What do both those mean, and how do they kind of play into that process?
So, so the deviation is the part where, okay, If I'm still expecting the market to be within that range, any movement below it, it should be short-lived. And the definition, the way I define deviation anyway, is okay, it should snap back within the range. So I can be aggressive, and if I'm still anticipating it to continue within the range, I can be aggressive buys. So if I'm correct, it should snap back quick, or I'll wait for the snap back within the range, hence let the deviation form. And once I've got that, then I've got a risk define then, because once it deviates, it shouldn't go back, below it, on a support. So that's my deviation. And as for the midpoint, well, to get to the other side of the range, you got to cross the midpoint. So I've broken that initial range down into two ranges now, the first half and the second half. So it's more like an objective to reach for. So if I'm not confident, it's come to the support, say range low. If I'm not still confident enough, well, I can wait for it to break the midpoint. That further increases the probability. So the way I think of it, once I define my range, I look at probability. What do I need to see to increase the probability? And as each level broken, the probability increases. You may get a later entry, but it doesn't matter to me. It's not about our quote the low, quote the high. It's about I'm entering where the probability is higher. So if I'm going for a long, I'm still unsure when it's at the range low. The moment it breaks the midpoint, and I'm still anticipating a retest of the range high, then I can use that to play the smaller range, the second half of the range, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
And that's
does.
it really. And then you can just break it down further and further and further, the exact same thing.
Continue kind of breaking it into quartiles, using the midpoint really as almost like a momentum trigger, right? If we are able
Yeah,
to
I
cross the
mean,
midpoint, go ahead.
it's also a good, and see, the range gives me many uses, not just triggers. It gives me invalidation levels, and it also enables me, say you're a swing trader or you're holding a position for a swing trade.
Sure.
Sometimes, is it going to go or not? Is it no? Sometimes you can hold it. Often I find people with small position, they'll hold it, they don't care if they get stopped out. And when it gets to the other side, look, I've caught the big move. But when you're doing size and you got massive money, they say, hang on a minute, is it worth it? What do I do to manage it? So what I do then is use that to manage my trade. Even though I'm playing it as a trend, the ranges help me manage the trade as well. So many use cases for it. It's just whichever you prefer.
Yeah, tons of ways to apply it. It's funny. I'm thinking, there's probably some people listening right now, and I still get this as well. I'm sure you see a ton of it. There are some people that they'll hear us talk about ranges. They'll hear this kind of technical side of trading, and they'll say, you know what, I've heard TA is nonsense. But when you step back and think about it, a lot of the things that are going on in fundamental analysis and quantitative analysis are really doing the same things, right? They're looking at PE ratios, maybe for a company. They might be looking at, there's a reason they put up that 52-week high and low. A lot of the times, you're just trying to find value. And what's the range it's trading in over a year? What's the range it's trading in regards to how expensive or cheap that stock is versus the assets it holds? The range I kind of view, especially the way that you describe it, it's really just kind of a way to visualize a different way to get that data. One more thing within your ranges that I think is really unique to your game, something that I've added to my own game in 18 and 19, and is you have specifically breaking down a certain range, and that's the Monday range. Do you do that with Bitcoin as well?
Yeah, I do with any asset class. So basically, the way I found it is normally when the new week starts, price usually settles in, unless it just takes off straight away. Usually the Monday is sets the range to start the week. So if I'm expecting a trending market, when it breaks up and say I'm bullish, once Monday is over with and it breaks above the Monday's high, well, if it's trending, it should close higher above the previous day, shouldn't it? So that usually tells me, okay, as long as it stays above the Monday, the probability of a continuation is higher, and I know my defined risk. Whereas also I find Monday, if it's going to be range bound, it usually sticks within the Monday's range. Not always, but I found whenever it does.
Sure.
And then if the Monday's range is capping the market, then I either trade that or I wait for a clean breakout. The clean breakout means we're ready for expansion. So that's how I use the Monday's range to tell me when it's going to trend or whether it's going to stay range bound.
It's almost a way to kind of set the tone and kind of fine tune what your plan will be. What else do you have? There's a few other terms that I want to get into, and then we'll talk about where we are currently. That's kind of the more exciting part, but I want to break down these as well so people understand and can keep up. You also talk about not just the Monday range, but you have daily opens, which matter. You have weekly opens, which matter, and yearly opens. And this is something people look at and say, wait a second, Bitcoin trades 24/7. There is no stock market close. It's open on the weekends. Why the hell do those closes matter? Why do they matter to you, and how do you use them there?
Well, for me, it's just one piece of the jigsaw. each like Monday's range is one piece of the jigsaw, the range is one piece, the yearly open is one piece. So it's like a marker for me. So if we've, for example, think of a candle, a daily candle, right? So if I'm expecting a bullish candle, then it has a wick usually, and then has a body, and then it wicks out to close. So if I'm bullish, I'll draw at the open. Now this can be the same as a weekly, daily, yearly,
Sure.
quarterly. It doesn't really matter. Just the high time frames it just takes more time and bigger ranges. So on a daily, once it wicks into a support level and goes back above the daily open, probability-wise, that tells me the low should be in. So then I'm playing the body, the expansion phase, and that sort of gives me a marker to support an invalidation level. That's how I use it. So for a yearly chart, if it's formed a wick and it's trading above it, then if I'm bullish, then that sort of adds or supports my bullish idea. And the same concept will be applied to the weekly, daily. You can do it on a scalping. You can do it on a H1, H4 basis. It's exactly the same thing, just a lower time frame. The high time frame just give you better odds. That's it.
The common theme here I'm finding with every single answer, and I think we could go down the list of your process and find this is going to be consistent with all of them, is you're constantly looking for your invalidation before you're saying, this is my target, I want to be long or short, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You're trying to understand, where do I not want price to go, or where do I think that probability wise price shouldn't go again if I'm right?
Yeah. Well, that's all we can do, really, isn't it? I mean, everything can line up. The only one thing we're in control of is our risk. We're not in control of anything else. You can follow your plan 100%. Doesn't mean every single trade is going to work, but in the long run, it should if it's obviously a successful strategy. So the moment I know where I'm wrong, and I know how much I'm risking, that's all that matters to me. The rest I leave to the process. As long as I'm following the plan and managing it, and not messing up along the way. Well, as soon as that's what it's about: risk management and probabilities. That's all I see as.
Yep, yep, I can agree with that wholeheartedly. All right, SC, let's get into the good stuff. Where does that put us today? Bitcoin, I'll set the stage a little bit. Bitcoin above the yearly open again. Yearly open was around 71.63. Bitcoin's now trading at like 7,700, I think, before we started this. So you have Bitcoin
Yeah.
back above the yearly open, some positive momentum. What does that tell you in terms of where we are right now?
Okay, so for me personally, I'm looking at this quarterly level at around 7,700. Okay, now today, yes, it's trading above it, but that's just it could be short-lived.
Sure.
Okay, so for me, I could be ready to change from a swing bearish point of view to swing bullish. So the chart I'll send to you. We've been trading for the past couple of weeks in a range where I'm neutral in the sense where it's just range bound environment. Whereas in the chart, I show you where I'm looking for a swing short to trigger. I'm looking for a swing long. I'm about to be triggered on my swing short if it follows my bullish plan. So 7700 is my line in the sand. So if that breaks, then I'm ready to go swing long, and that puts me on a bullish bias. Um, so it's make or break really soon now for me. So I'm allowing it to spike up towards 7960, but if I get like a weekly close above 7700 and we hold above 7700, so you find you get a daily close above. It's not always daily close above because you can have a daily close and then next day close right within. Hence we got that deviation then. So
Yep.
for me, what I want to look for daily close is one part of it. Then I'm going to see how does it behave after it closes above that level. How does it behave? Does it hold and find support? That's where my lower time frame ranges help me. So say we got a daily close of 7700, and then on the lower time frame, I get smaller ranges and start seeing bullish momentum on there. That then supports the bullish idea. Whereas if I get a daily close above and then it closes right back below, then I can get back short again because that's the deviation done. And the sign of a deviation is that's a stop run. We should go back. And then at that point, we're back within my range bound environment. So I'm going to have to stay day trading it within the consolidation we're in until it breaks down. So at the moment, I'll just be level to level trading, small short term targets. Last trade I took probably last week at some point for a small long, couple of $100. But yeah, so I'm gonna see how we close today and take it from there.
Yeah, the close will prove if we can get out of this trend, the ranging market, and then eventually move into a market that would be much more supportive, much more beneficial to actually be swinging long.
Yeah, well, it'll be one piece of the jigsaw. So if it closes above, okay, that's one part. Then I'm gonna see is it gonna continue to stay above it or it's gonna break below it.
Sure.
Then the lower time frame ranges come in. If I find support, and like the way I look for a range in the high time frame, if I start finding that on a lower time frame above 7700, then the odds increase for longs. And even if I miss the 7700 long, as long as this makes a clean break above, then I've got a range to work with. So above the 7700, we're working towards my midpoint, which is around 8824. So it'll be clearer when I show the chart. Sometimes it's hard to explain when you're talking,
No, it's
but
all
yeah,
good. It's all good. I think
yeah.
that really helps. I'll pop it up for anyone watching on YouTube. If you're listening, I still think that paints actually a pretty good picture. Understanding either we're in a trending market or we're in a ranging, right? It's just deciding
Yeah,
what rule
yeah.
set are you going to play.
I think the key point also is like you can have that bullish price, but because it's range bound, it getting chopped up. People they think when they buy, you have to go straight away. No, understanding your profile is such an important thing in my opinion. If you understand you're in a range bound, don't expect big moves. Expect both sides of the market. If you can't trade range bound markets, let it go into a swing trade environment. Then you can start talking about big targets. Because till then, for me personally, because it's been range bound choppy for a few weeks now, I've had I've had to adapt my plan. My plan is tells me day trade it until we enter swing trade. So now, if it does follow my bullish plan now, then I'll be happy to start swing trading. I think next objective probably be 88.24. If that breaks towards the 10.3, 10.5k.
Yep. Yep. Got a few things to check off the list before that. All right, Essie, one more thing I want to do here, and this is the new segment that I'm kind of adding to the show. I wanted to have you on as the first guest. I like your style a lot. I respect you and a lot of other traders that I work with and trade with. Also, I know respect you as well, and I'm going to value your opinion. So this is going to be a fun first week of this. All right, this is going to be a pretty good challenge here. I want to do every single week. I'm going to have someone come on, ask the exact same 3 questions. We're going to tally up. We're going to go back. So anyone listening right now, you can check back in a week, see how we both did. I got 3 questions. The first one will be, will Bitcoin be higher or lower by the end of the week versus where we are today? Right now we're at 7,700. What do you think by weekend? Is it? Go ahead.
That's more like a gamble thing because it has to follow my plan. But
that's what I said. It's a
okay.
game. All right, it's a game. It can be a buy, it can be a sell, or it can be a hold. Right? If you don't have an opinion on it,
just to trigger everybody, right?
Yeah,
Lower.
Yeah. Lower. All right.
Yeah.
We'll take a lower there. I'm gonna go with, I actually think the Bitcoin will be higher by the weekend. But like I said,
I end up being massively long by the end of the week anyway. But yeah,
exactly. A lot can change in between, but it's just fun. It's
Yeah.
fun to go back on. We'll see how things end up. All right, second
Probably end
one.
up 3k by the end of the week.
Exactly. Well, if it's at 3K, we're gonna have a lot more problems. That we won't be recapping if it's at 3K. All right, second one. Same format. Will ETH be higher at the end of the week, or will ETH be lower? I'm talking about in Bitcoin price, right? I'm basically asking, will alts continue to do as well as they've done, or will ETH start to pull back by weekend? Is it a buy, a sell, or you can be neutral on it? Right?
Oh, neutral.
Yeah, you can be neutral.
Well, it's at my resistance, so I'm gonna say lower. So again, that's BTC is another pair, but I'd say lower.
I'm going to go lower as well. I'm going to say the ETH, I think, by end of the week will be lower as well. All right. We're on the same path with that one. I got one last one. It's the third one. This one I think actually can fit your plan quite nice. And this is going to be, if you had $1,000, 1,000 USD to put into one of these 3 options to maximize your money by the end of the week, either into Bitcoin, into Tether, or into ETH, what would it be?
Bitcoin, because I've got a bearish bias on ETH BTC, so Bitcoin.
Okay, be in Bitcoin. All right. I'm also
I would
going
have said XRP, but you know.
We'll hit XRP next. That's actually a little bonus question I have for you because I know that's going to trigger a lot of people. All right, I'll also go Bitcoin. So we line up with the second 2. The first one we're battling with. So we'll tally up those points the weekend. It's going to be fun to look back on every single week. We'll see how we do. Last one with you. If you had a coin for the whole year, is it Bitcoin? Is it ETH? Or is it some other altcoin out there? This is your, do you have one thing that you think outperforms?
You know what? For gain percentage-wise, probably going to be some one of the alts because it just does mad gains. But
sure, yeah, I'm not talking about coin number 500. I'm saying like ETH, XRP or Bitcoin.
Probably XRP. Just go with XRP. I mean, percentage moves probably likely to do bigger percentage moves. I'll go with XRP.
You like XRP, don't you?
One of the first coins I bought. Yeah, so it's just some crazy gains. When I first came into crypto, I mean, I had no idea how the kind of moves. I'm used to FX, little percent moves. I put one month of trading, buying XRP maybe more than 6 months of FX. Like shit. So biased just to that standard. But yeah, I picked that because percentage-wise, probably can do bigger percentage moves compared to the others.
Yeah.
Even though it probably goes to zero eventually, but I might as well milk it and speculate on it while it's giving me the opportunity. But yeah,
I'm with you. XRP has to be the one coin out of any, and crypto is a very unique asset class that it has fans for each asset. But XRP out of any, I think is going to create the most inefficient opportunities because you either love it. There's people listening right now that probably just turned this off, and there's people right now that are literally yelling right now how happy they are. They're bullish on XRP.
I personally think the whole of crypto community is one big cult. But XRP cult, you can't beat them.
You
It's
can't
like,
beat it.
like,
It's
well,
crazy.
even I'm scared to say, even if I'm shorting, I gotta pretend I'm not shorting it.
Yeah.
They all laugh at you like wolves.
You chose your answer wisely. Then it was a nice safe answer.
That's
it's,
basically correct.
we'll see. We'll see. It's been a pleasure. We'll tally.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we'll tally and add them up by the end. I do want to before we wrap here. You've been at this game a lot longer than most. You're at the FX game longer than me. And one thing that I think people listening to this right now, and really anyone in crypto is constantly trying to do is trying to improve. And I'm kind of curious, within your own game, within your own approach, what's one thing that that you're actively kind of focused on right now as you kind of audit your own decisions? What's one thing that you actually have to sit down and think, how do I do this better? What are you kind of focused on right now?
I think more discipline. So I've seen the banner I've got on my Twitter.
Yeah.
Plan, waiting, trigger. I think it's the waiting part, the discipline in having a plan. For me, always having a plan and working on your mental game. You know, people think it's strategy. You know, if you're not looking after yourself outside of the market, if you're not looking after your mental health and, you know, your general health in general, you're not going to be able to make good decisions. And trading, what is trading? It's all decision making, isn't it? So if you're thinking clearly, you're making clearer, healthier decisions. And so that comes like you planning clearer, so your process is clean, and then working on your discipline, your mindset. Once you can master that, it's not that hard. The hard part for me is actually the waiting and following your plan. That's actually the hard part. The strategy isn't the hard. Once you've got the strategy, you've got it. But people think because I messed up, you realize most people mess up because they either messed up the plan. And I hear many people say, "Oh, I messed up again," but you keep saying the same thing. And I hear certain people. I'm not gonna probably trigger a few people here, but fuck it. But you seem as if I've seen across certain people where they're well known, and I think you're making a same amateur mistake. If you've been doing this for years, you shouldn't be making shit like that. Yes,
Sure.
we will still make mistakes, but at your level, you shouldn't be doing that. Which either says you're trying shit, or you just can't trade. So I filter out people like that as well. But I've been doing it for 8 years, and if I'm still saying, "Oh, I mismanaged it this way, that way," hardcore, why are you still doing those amateur mistakes? So yes, we can make mistakes, but you make less of them with experience and as you mature as a trader. So I think if you focus on your mental health, in the sense where you're clean, your mind's clear, you go gym to work out, just whatever it takes to have a clear head and discipline. And that's it. I think for those, if you can master those, I think you're more or less there. For me, anyway, that's been the big game changer. Not trigger or entry wise. Entry wise, you'll see me entering in the middle of nowhere. That's because I know where I'm wrong or right. But the decision to get there has been made clearly with the process. Whereas if I'm just rushing in, I'm usually doing that when I'm not feeling well, or I'm just emotional about whatever decision. So yeah, mental, clear planning and having a clear head and discipline. I think those are the most important, in my opinion.
I can respect that. I think that's going to apply to a lot of people as they kind of sit back and think, what do I need to improve? What do I need to work on? One other question before your banner made me think about this. What is that quote from on your banner? If I throw a dog a bone, I don't want to know how it tastes. What is that from? Is that from a movie?
Oh no, that's just from the movie Snatch. Bricktop. I love that movie Snatch.
I've never seen it.
From there. I've had it for years. Oh, it's a brilliant movie. You gotta watch it.
All right, I'll check that out. I got enough time in quarantine. SC, thanks a ton for coming on. For people that do want to check you out, obviously Twitter is the best place to do that. Trader1SZ. Links are down below. They're in the iTunes, Spotify show notes. If you're watching this on YouTube, the link is right down below. If you do trade actively and you're not following SC, I cannot say enough about how I think really just helpful your process is and what you show, but also just how clean the charts are, how easy they are to understand. Got a lot of respect for you and love for you. I appreciate you coming on. And
thank you for having me.
Hey, man, yeah, it's been a pleasure. Maybe I need to try out one way I can work on my discipline The fasting. I'm going to stick with that. That's my note for today. We'll see if I can actually
Exactly.
try that one day this week.
Plus, the spiritual aspect of it, the health benefits of it are amazing. We eat more than we need to anyway. Only 3 meals a day. I don't know where that's come from, but yeah, fasting definitely helps in more ways than one.
I'm going to try it one day this month or one day this week. We'll see what I can do. SC, thanks a ton for coming on, man. Have a good rest of your week. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll check back in how we did end of the week.
You too, buddy. Thank you.
All right, see you, bud.